and drift away.
Yo, what's good, everybody? Hope y'all having a great day. All right, before we get this video started, I just want to say thank you to everyone that was in yesterday's live stream. You guys made that an absolute success. That was by far the biggest live stream I've ever done, and you guys were just showing so much love. So I just want to say thank you to everyone that was in that live stream. And because of how successful that was, I'm going to be live streaming a whole lot more. You guys proved to me that you guys really want me to start live streaming more, so I got you guys. So be on the lookout for another live stream this weekend. All right, but now let's get into today's video. All right, guys, so as you guys all probably know, yesterday was the first round of the NFL draft. The first round of the NFL draft always has the most hype around it because that's where the top prospects are going to be going. However, if you know anything about football, you know that teams are built in the later rounds. And sometimes you can even find a hidden superstar in those later rounds. And so today I thought I'd show you guys the 10 biggest draft steals over the past decade. Now I chose to do the past decade instead of all time for two reasons. Firstly, because as the draft process has gotten way more in depth and way more detailed, a lot less superstars are being found in the later rounds. And secondly, because most of the big name draft steals don't even play in the NFL anymore. And so I want to show you guys some draft steals about players that actually play right now. Now, just a heads up, these are my top 10, and it's going to be ordered with number 1 being the best and number 10 being the worst. Well, the worst. And if I forgot to put a player that you guys think is a top 10 draft steal over the past decade, be sure to comment them down below. And remember, it's the past decade, so they can't have been drafted earlier than 2008. All right, with that being said, let's get into this list. All right, so at number 10, I have the Chicago Bears running back Jordan Howard, who was picked up in the 5th round. So Jordan Howard went to the University of Alabama at Birmingham, or UAB, and he was picked up in the 5th round, and he was the 150th pick. However, that did not stop him from becoming a Pro Bowler in his rookie year. 5th round running back becomes Pro Bowler in his rookie year. Yeah, that sounds a draft steal. Now, Howard hasn't been in the league that long, so he still has to prove himself to be one of the premier backs in the NFL. But he's already gotten off to a pretty good start. However, because of that, that is why I have him at number 10. And at number 9, I have Arizona Cardinals running back David Johnson, who was picked up in the 3rd round. Now, David Johnson was drafted in 2015 in the 3rd round with the 86th overall pick. And coming out of Northern Iowa, which is a pretty small school, no one really knew what he was going to be. However, I don't think anyone was expecting him for the next year to become a Pro Bowler and a first-team All-Pro, and also a fantasy king that year. Now, I would have had David Johnson higher, but because he was basically hurt for all of last year, he couldn't take that next step to see if he was going to become the elite level running back, which he's projecting to be. However, it's going to be interesting to see how he comes back from that wrist injury. But with that being said, it is just a wrist injury, so where he might have fumble problems, his running game is still perfectly fine. And he's had a whole year to recover, so I think he's going to be coming back way better than we've ever seen him in 2016. But because I'm basically going off of 1 year's worth of stats, that's why I have him at number 9. And at number 8, I have former Miami Dolphin and now Cleveland Browns wide receiver Jarvis Landry. Now, while yes, Jarvis Landry is not technically the biggest draft steal, he was taken in the 2nd round with pick 63 back in 2014. However, I don't think most NFL GMs are expecting their 2nd round picks to be a Pro Bowler every single year except for their rookie year. And you know, Jarvis Landry also led the league in receptions last year. Looking back at it, Jarvis Landry should have easily been a 1st round overall pick, just like his boy Odell was. However, because he was a 2nd round pick, I can't put him that high up on the draft steals list because he was taken in the 2nd round. That's not really a steal, but for what he's done, it definitely is a steal still. And that's why I have Jarvis Landry at number 8. And some of the same things that prevented Jarvis Landry from being higher on this list are the same reasons why Bobby Wagner is number 7 on my list. Now, in 2012, Bobby Wagner was taken in the 2nd round with the 47th overall pick out of Utah State. However, since being drafted, he's been a 4-time Pro Bowler, a 3-time first-team All-Pro, and a 2nd-team All-Pro. Oh, and you know, a Super Bowl champion as well. That sounds like a start to a Hall of Fame career out of your 2nd round pick. That's pretty good. However, because he was taken in the 2nd round, he isn't the biggest steal of the past decade, so that's why I have him at number 7. Now, kind of a trend on this list is that 2nd round picks have turned out to be some of the best players in the NFL. Just like my 6th overall player, Rob Gronkowski, who was taken in the 2nd round with the 42nd overall pick. Now, back in 2010, the New England Patriots picked up a tight end in the 2nd round named Rob Gronkowski out of Arizona. However, I don't think they realized that they were going to be picking up one of the greatest, if not the greatest tight end of all time. Since joining the league back in 2010, Rob Gronkowski's been a 5-time first-team All-Pro, a 5-time Pro Bowler, the NFL Comeback Player of the Year in 2014, and he led the league in receiving touchdowns in 2011 as a tight end. And you know, he's also a 2-time Super Bowl champion. No biggie. Now, the scary thing is, Rob Gronkowski could even have been better if he wasn't hurt so much. That just shows how dominant he's been. However, because he was taken in the 2nd round, I can't put him super high up on this list, but I can still put him up there pretty high. I mean, in my opinion, if Rob Gronkowski could have 2 to 3 more dominant seasons like this, he's going to be a lock for the Hall of Fame out of a 2nd round pick. That's pretty good. All right, so now that we're done with picks 6 through 10, my picks 1 through 5 are what I would consider legitimate draft steals. And at number 5, I have current Packers tight end Jimmy Graham. Now back in 2010, Jimmy Graham was taken in the 3rd round with the 95th overall pick out of Miami, which is actually the same year that Rob Gronkowski was drafted. However, Jimmy Graham was taken a whole round later, but since he's come into the league, he's been a 5-time Pro Bowler. In 2013, he was a first-team All-Pro, and in 2011, he was a second-team All-Pro. And in 2013, he led the league in receiving touchdowns, again as a tight end. Now, unlike Rob Gronkowski, whose stats could have been better if it weren't for injuries, Jimmy Graham's stats could have been way better if he would have just stayed with the Saints. And while yes, he has been a Pro Bowler these past 2 years, his stats are nowhere near what he was putting up when he was in New Orleans. However, for what he's done since he's came into the league as a 3rd round draft pick, you cannot deny that he is one of the biggest draft steals in the past decade. Now, a trend that you guys are going to notice is that the Seahawks have absolutely been killing the draft over the past decade. 3 of the past 10 draft steals over the past decade were drafted by the Seahawks. They're doing a pretty good job out there. And arguably their biggest draft steal was Russell Wilson, who was taken in the 3rd round with the 75th overall pick. So back in 2012, Russell Wilson was taken in the 3rd round out of Wisconsin. And absolutely everyone doubted him coming into the league, mainly because he's under 6 foot. However, that hasn't stopped him from becoming a 4-time Pro Bowler, a Super Bowl champion. He led the league in passer rating in 2015. He led the league in passing touchdowns this past year. And he was also the NFL Rookie of the Year his rookie year. All out of the 3rd round quarterback who everyone said was too short to make it in the NFL. I think we could say Russell Wilson proved him wrong. And while all of these NFL teams are trying to find their franchise quarterback in the 1st round, the Seahawks found theirs in the 3rd. That's why I have Russell Wilson ranked as my 4th overall draft steal. Alright you guys, now my number 3 overall draft steal is a big one. However, there's kind of a loophole because this player wasn't even drafted. That is right, I'm talking about former NFL running back Arian Foster. Do you guys remember Arian Foster? This dude is an undrafted running back out of Tennessee back in 2009. However, during his 7-year career, he was a 4-time Pro Bowler. He was a first-team All-Pro running back in 2010 and a second-team All-Pro running back in 2011. In 2012, he led the league in rushing touchdowns, and in 2010, he led the league in both rushing touchdowns and rushing yards. All of this out of a running back out of Tennessee that no one wanted to draft. I feel like I can sit back here and confidently say during those 7 years that he was in the NFL, he was one of the best running backs in the NFL. And that's why I have him as my number 3 draft steal over the past decade. Don't forget about my man Arian Foster out there. So remember how I was saying the Seahawks were kind of killing the draft over these past couple of years? Well, they did it again by picking up Richard Sherman in the 5th round with the 154th overall pick. So since entering the league in 2011, the 5th rounder Richard Sherman has been a 4-time Pro Bowler, a 3-time first-team All-Pro, a second-team All-Pro back in 2015, and he led the NFL in interceptions in 2013. And he's also a Super Bowl champion. But not only that, he helped establish one of the most dominant secondaries that we've ever seen in the NFL. He set the attitude for the Legion of Boom. Now, while most 5th round draft picks are trying to just find their way onto an NFL roster, Richard Sherman went out there and tried to prove himself to be the best corner in the NFL. Now, that's what I call a draft steal. And that's why Richard Sherman is my number 2 overall draft steal over the past decade. All right, now the moment that you guys have all been waiting for, who is the number 1 overall draft steal over the last 10 years? Before I reveal who it is, I want you guys to comment down below who you think it is. And also, while you're down there, you might as well give this video a like and subscribe because, I mean, you guys obviously liked the video if you got to this part. Alright you guys, now the number 1 overall draft steal over the past decade has to hands down be Antonio Brown. You know, the best wide receiver in the NFL? For those of you guys who don't know, Antonio Brown came into this league in 2010 and he was a 6th round pick. He was seen as a small wide receiver out of a small college in central Michigan that wasn't particularly fast and that really just wasn't special in any way. But boy did Antonio prove all of them wrong. Since entering the league in 2010, he has been a 6-time Pro Bowler, a 4-time first-team All-Pro, a second-team All-Pro in 2013. In 2015, he led the league in receptions. In 2017, he led the league in receiving yards. And in 2014, he led the league in both receiving yards and receptions. Remember guys, we're talking about a 6th round draft pick. I mean, obviously Tom Brady's always going to go down as the biggest draft steal of all time. But I think you need to put Antonio Brown's name up there somewhere as well. Over the past 5 years, Antonio Brown has established himself as one of the best, if not the best wide receiver year in and year out. And that's why I have Antonio Brown as my number 1 overall draft steal over the past decade. Alright guys, but let me know what you guys thought of the list. Did you like it? Did you not like it? Were there some players that you wish would have been on there? Be sure to comment them down below. Alright guys, but I hope that y'all enjoyed this video. If you did, be sure to leave this video a like. Yo, can we get this video to 400 likes? Because that lets me know that you guys enjoyed this video. Also, don't forget to comment down below any other players that you guys want me to see, because that's how I know who you guys want me to watch so we can help grow this channel. And also, don't forget to hit that subscribe button and turn your notifications so you guys can stay on top of all the videos that I am coming out with. Hey, Alright guys, with that all being said, hope you guys will have a great rest of your day, and I will catch you guys in the next video. Ciao.